Hello, welcome to the Dre and Smiley Inner Circle podcast. We are most excited to have Judge Hayes with us. This is a podcast where ordinary people who are living extraordinary lives share their ideas and their experiences with you. Andre?
All right. So I'll read a brief intro here before we jump into it. So Judge Robin Kimbrough Hayes grew up the only African American family in a trailer park in Lexington, Kentucky as a latchkey kid. Determined to get out of the trailer park, she focused on education by attending Fisk University and graduated with Phi Beta Kappa honors. Robin's desire to serve took her to Emory School of Law, where she received the school's Public Service Award. Since graduating, she has served in a number of different capacities in the Nashville area. Those include Assistant Attorney General, Associate General Counsel for the Tennessee Department of Children's Services, and 10 years as the legal counsel for the Tennessee Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence. As an attorney, she's received the Napier Lobby Bar Association A.A. Birch Service Award and the Nashville Coalition Against Domestic Violence Advocate of the Year. Judge Hayes is also a graduate of Vanderbilt Divinity School and an ordained elder in the United Methodist Church. She currently serves as the chaplain and special advisor to the president of the United Methodist Affairs at Meharry Medical College. Robin has used her legal skills to advance social justice for the least of these in our communities. She's an active member of a number of organizations in the Nashville area that serve to spiritually and materially advance the circumstances of the Black community in Nashville. Just a few of these organizations include Nashville branch of the National Association of the Advancement of Colored People, or the NAACP, Women in the NAACP NOAH, or Nashville Organized Change and Hope, for Change and Hope, and the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. She's on the Sexual Assault Center Board of Directors as well. Robin has 2 self-published books, Be Encouraged, 100 Messages of Hope and Healing, and Exercise Your Faith, a 21-day journey to physical and spiritual fitness. Robin also has written an adult curriculum for the United Methodist Publishing House and a weekly meditation for the Nashville Pride. On a personal note, Robin enjoys karaoke, volunteering, and social justice work. She is married to Arnold Hayes, and together they have 5 children. With that, Judge Hayes, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction, and thank you for allowing me to share with you all today on the judiciary. Since I've taken the judiciary, I am no longer serving in the chaplain role and special advisor roles at Meharry Medical College, and they were very fulfilling to me and have given me a strong context to the work on the bench.
Excellent. Yeah. So in terms of going back just a bit, let's start from the beginning. You have a pretty impressive journey to becoming all that you are today. Let's start from the beginning in terms of growing up in that trailer park. What was that like, and what was your motivation to seek something at a greater, higher level than that?
Growing up in the trailer park was rough. We were the only African-American family in the trailer park. And so it was kind of an oddity that we were in the trailer park. So it was kind of something new for the community there. I will tell you that the community was poor. So we were all poor. And I look back on that and look at the trailer park is still there. And I look back and it's a miracle that I'm where I am today. Trailer parks are close-knit communities. There's a lot of poverty. And when I was living in the trailer park, there were a lot of things that were horrible going on in the trailer park. And I'm glad that I was able to avoid a lot of that. So I did get, I I was a kid, so I was 4 years old when I moved there, and I actually experienced a lot of what I would know now as racism, name calling, and even people that hung out with me. They sometimes were called the N lover. You know what I'm saying? And but yeah, I was made fun of, but yet I found community there in that environment. But I knew that I wanted to get out of the trailer park. I had to get out. So I had to get out of the trailer park. So I thought the only ticket to get out was to get an education. So that just really motivated me to work hard in school. But I want to add that my earlier years in the trailer park, I was over at my Aunt Rita's house, and she lived in Green Acres, and it was a middle-class Black neighborhood. And where we played, like you hear these stories, we played until the sun went down, and we played games, hide and seek, any outdoor games, hang out at somebody's house, driving around the neighborhood. That's what kind of neighborhood that was. So I was split. I would go to school in that school district, and then I would go back to the trailer park. So there were two distinct communities that I was a part of. So I was in Green Acres, and then I was in the trailer park. So I was in these two different worlds, and I actually experienced bullying in the other world too. I was called white, said I talked proper, and just never really fit in either community. Because of some family things, I ended up having to stay home by myself starting in fourth grade. So I was about 9 or 10, and I was staying at home by myself. So I was a latchkey child from fourth grade through 12th grade. So I wasn't over in Green Acres as much, but I was still a part of that community too. But I had to get an education, and that was it for me. And I had a little stumble at the end of elementary school, but pulled that out, and I ended up in all advanced classes going to what was called junior high school. And so I knew that was the ticket, is getting these advanced classes and going to college. And that meant I could leave. And I did just that. So when I went to Fisk, I was gone.
Interesting.
So it was an interesting dynamic, because, I look back, I had really good friends in the trailer park. There was one guy in the trailer park, and his name was Mr. Paul. And he was kind of like the guy with money in the trailer park. He was a painter. And he was the kind of guy that, even though we were all poor, he had the money in the trailer park. And I actually, he would take me and his family to wrestling matches. So I was really into wrestling. And I sent my wrestling scrapbook. So even though the trailer park was bad, there were some positive things that I could say. Mr. Paul, who allowed me to go to the Rupp Arena and to see big wrestling matches. I mean, that was a big deal. Oh, I couldn't wait till he offered me a ticket. And so, but we experienced a lot of problems because we were Black. People going through our yard to cross over, we couldn't stop it. It was just a lot of things that we couldn't stop because of the racism. But I did build community even in spite of that. I had friends. I was running around the trailer park playing games and all of that. Right. But still there was that race component. So I think I look back on it. I think that's helped me out. I talk to all communities. I can relate. And when I ran for U.S. Senate, the trailer park piece really came out because I was talking to people from the hood to the holler. I could talk hood, I could talk holler. I know how it is to live in a trailer park. I know what you're experiencing in that trailer park. I know how poor you are. I know how frustrated you are with management. And I know you're struggling to keep a roof over your head, and and that same struggle is for somebody who lives in the hood. So I understood the holler and the hood and all of that. You know, I could relate. I was in the communities.
You know, it's interesting. A couple things that stand out from what you shared, Judge Hayes, is one is that your story has a common thread with a number of other guests we have, as it relates to your horizon, right? Being directly related to your exposure, right? Like you, my mother grew up in an environment that was less than desirable. At one point, and I try to emphasize this because when she told me this as a kid, it took a while for me to picture it. At one point, she lived in a basement, not a house with a basement, but a basement. So they started building the house and they stopped at the basement because they ran out of money. At one point, she lived in a basement. But she was fortunate enough to later move on to a different neighborhood where she met one of her best friends, who she's still friends with today. And that family was all about education. And so with that, in the summers, my mom and her friend would study, imagine they would study the dictionary. And so that kind of planted seeds for it. And so like you, with your Aunt Rita, going to that neighborhood and seeing there's more than just the trailer park. You were exposed to the other, dynamics that exist in the world as a result, raising your horizon. The second thing that stands out is that the value of your background as it pertains to what you do today, right? My guess is there's no person from any walk of life that you wouldn't be able to connect with because of your background. And that says a lot in terms of the value and how it leads or adds to the success you're doing today. I just wanted to add that. And the last thing before I pass it over to Kevin here is that I too have an Aunt Rita, and I keep telling her she's my favorite aunt, but she reminds me that I'm your only aunt, Andre.
Let me add this. I can tell you what gave me exposure that there was something better out there.
What's that?
It was watching soap operas. So after school, my Aunt Rita was really into soap operas, and I said there's something. It was the soap operas that showed me that there was something better out there. I did not see Black folks living in big homes and nice cars until I went to Spelman. It was called Spellbound Weekend, because I applied to Spelman, and I had caught a Greyhound at 17 years old to go to Atlanta for this Spellbound Weekend. And they did a tour of the neighborhoods in Atlanta. And I was shocked about that there were Black people living in those homes.
Wow. You know what, Judge Hayes, you hit a nerve. You hit a part of my spirit, because a lot of times my friends tease me and I would tell them that I was Victor Newman because of the soap opera Young and the Restless. And my grandparents watched that religiously. So when I graduated from college and got a job and was working in corporate America, I would always sit at the head of the table as if I'm Victor Newman, because that was the one that I identified with, because he owned all these conglomerates. He was international, and he was the guy that I identified with as a young person. But the question I want to circle back to you is, you mentioned the Green Acres and the trailer park experience, and I didn't live in the projects, but we was like a half a block away from the projects, so we were in the projects. So I'm from Pittsburgh. We didn't have a lot of trailer parks, but at which part of your youth did you decide you understood that education was the ticket out of there, or to something better? But when did you get the bug for, I want to be a lawyer, I want to affect change on a legal perspective, versus I always see on the soap operas, I'm trying to think which one, even Massimo was on there were so many different names, but I didn't see any prominent lawyers. I saw the business people, so I was wondering, where did you get that legal bug?
Well, I have no idea, but I know I was in the kitchen of my grandmother Moore's house, who's a grandmother on my father's side of the family. And I stood in the middle of the kitchen at 4 years old and said I wanted to be a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been wanting to be a lawyer ever since. And I thought really being a lawyer, and I just want to say this to folks, and I have to be kind to myself because I came out of a trailer park straight to Fisk. And I didn't have a lot of exposure as other people did. All I wanted to be was a lawyer. Mm-hmm. I had no idea about being a judge or being something beyond being an attorney. I think we had a dentist in our church, and church was a big piece of my life. Oh, Lord have mercy. Mm-hmm. Church was so big. I can't really talk about getting out of that trailer park without talking about my faith and how that was the rock that really motivated me, inspired me, and carried me away from the trailer park. But it wasn't until later that I started seeing that I could be more than this. Mm-hmm. But when I left Fisk, I wanted to run for office. So I ran for SGA president at Fisk, and I won. I was president of my sorority, Delta Sigma Theta Alpha Beta chapter, and I wanted to run for U.S. Senate. Mm-hmm. And I just want to encourage young people and all of us, I guess old people too. Sometimes we put limits on our visions and our dreams, and don't put limits on it. Mm-hmm. And even now that I'm a judge, I'm not going to put a limit on that either. So, there's always, God has always taken us to new levels, mm-hmm. not for us, but for God's kingdom building. Mm-hmm. And so it's always another calling.
So when another one is you decided when you were 4 years old or fourth grade, you wanted to be a lawyer. But when I was fascinated when I graduated from college, and I'm like, okay, lawyers. I didn't realize there were so many different kinds of lawyers. I mean, how did you find, I saw in your research when I was researching you online, and I was you were on a webinar or a podcast, and you talked about the Ballotpedia. And I was like, Andre, I've never heard of this. It was so cool. And I've been there researching, but I was wondering, so how did you decide, or was it in college when you started to focus in your legal studies that you wanted to pursue domestic violence issue, family type issues, or what was the trigger that said, I want to help people versus I'm going to chase the big money, be corporate lawyers, mergers, acquisitions? Like, was it always a calling, or was that your faith?
Well, sometimes law school helps you decide what you're going to do depending on how well you do in law school. But let me just say, I like having these conversations because it forces me to reflect. I think the year that I decided I want to be a lawyer was the same year I walked in front of the church and decided to get baptized. Mm-hmm. I think I always wanted to live my life helping people, to make change, to represent the voices of people. And I think that's what Fisk taught me. Fisk helped me to hone that in, and definitely wanted to go to law school. Definitely had a call for advocacy work. Law school was hard for me because it was a culture shock, leaving law school, leaving the safety net of Fisk and going to law school. Mm-hmm. And only thing I can say is God, because I did not have a mentor, and I will stress to everybody, and that's something that I'm working on now, and I'm going to be getting me a mentor as a judge, because I saw a mentor as a lawyer. I needed one. I needed somebody to really talk to me about what I wanted to do, what my skills were, show me how to dress, all of that. Those are things that I did not know going into law school. Now, I think they're doing a better job with that at HBCUs, helping folks with their resumes and dress, but I did not know how to dress. Now, my daughter knows how to dress. She knows what to wear. And she asked me, and I'm able to give that to her. But I did not know these things. So when you talk about my journey, I felt it in my gut. I was going to do this. I did not. I was kind of, after I came to law school, I was like, what next? I've accomplished this. So for me, it was the job that I got. And so I got the job at the Attorney General's office. And that job would I did not know, but that job would walk the dog for me through a Senate race and a judicial race. Because I was an assistant attorney general for the state of Tennessee, and I argued appeals. And what I tell lawyers, and I just tell anybody, whatever you're doing, stick with it. I kind of bounced and bounced and bounced. And if I had just stuck with the track, probably could have had a different path, you know. Having a mentor who was also interested in running for office. I knew from Fisk I wanted to run for office, but didn't really know what that looked like or how to map that out or get there. And so I think mentorship is important. And the only thing I could say was God. You know, God led me every step of the way, even though I didn't know where I was going and made lots of mistakes along the way. It was God that put opportunities in my way and enabled me to do what I need to do. Because I had a big detour. I went to divinity school right in the middle, right at the beginning of my law career, and something that I was really called to do while I was at Emory Law School, but did not do it. And if I had had a mentor, I probably would have done it. But went on to Vanderbilt. I went for free to divinity school there. So now I'm wrestling with two calls, the legal call and this divinity call, and how all of that was going to mesh together. And if you ask me now how it's all meshed together, I said, well, it has worked itself out. You know, I went to Meharry, did wonderful work as a chaplain, all of that. And this chaplain piece is definitely a great context to have on the bench. But I'm just looking toward God for the, to use me in this space and to take me to wherever God wants me to go. But yeah, so I wish I could say, oh, it was in my gut. I was going to do that way. No,
right.
It was just, I didn't have that context. I came from a trailer park, for goodness sake. I didn't see any Black lawyers. I saw a Black dentist. That was Dr. Carrie Brown in my church. I didn't even know this one was a Delta. I ended up pledging Delta. Didn't even know she was a Delta. I knew I wanted to be in a sorority, and just had this gut to be a member of Delta. She happened to be a Delta in my church. So I just knew that I had to get out of that trailer park.
Fascinating.
And to be and I'm. But don't do it like don't do this at home. Get a mentor and think big. And I will add to this that, I had some issues. There was a cousin in my family I was always compared to. And you know what? I was determined I was going to outdo her. Mm-hmm. I was determined I was going to show everybody. Mm. And it wasn't a situation where she was part of this, the pitting against. It was other family. And I just said, I'm in my head, I'm not saying this out loud to anybody. I'm thinking this is where I'm going to go above this. And I think about, there was a young lady, her name was Tracy, and I wanted to be like her too. I looked at, these are some women, and she happened to be a Delta, and she was really doing big things at Kentucky State. And I knew her through her brother and her younger brother. And I said, I tried to get some kind of bar to meet or to exceed, so that I could move forward. But yeah, don't do this at home. My daughter, she's got mentors, and I make sure she has somebody besides me to help her to navigate. She's got this. We had medical school all mapped out, but that wasn't her journey. She ended up going to law school. She's doing great, and she's getting with mentors to help her to map out her journey. And I just want to encourage everybody out there who's listening, if I give one message, do not limit yourself. When I ran for office, if I listened to what people told me to do, what people told me to run, I would not be here today. I could not have these barriers. I could not be limited in what else. I woke up, I said I want to run for U.S. Senate. And it was a perfect race for me. I got in it late, but it helped me to understand about running for office, what I needed to do. And I knew how to apply those skills to the judicial race. So
that's great.
So don't do it at home, but
don't do what you did. So tell me this. So I have two burning questions after sharing everything you shared in terms of your journey from an HBCU to a PWI and some of the challenges you faced, but how you still felt like you were prepared. And I also have a question about mentorship. So the first question is, I have a 14-year-old who will be leaving the house soon. And we're looking, obviously, opportunities for him, in terms of college, universities. Talk about the HBCU experience and how it prepared you for the next level. And is that something you recommend or for others?
I do. This was great for me. When I look back on it, I can't overemphasize how good that was for me. It fostered my leadership skills. It helped me to be around people who were safe, that I could talk about issues with and to grow with, to be vulnerable with. It nurtured my faith, because I still stay connected to my faith at Fisk. And I ran for secretary or treasurer when I was a freshman. And so it was, it encouraged me to try different things. And it was a really good experience for me. And I pledged, and I became a leader on campus. And I look back on it, that was really important. I think I didn't see the grand scope of what I was doing then, but I was a good speaker. I could speak. I could do different things. And and I can say that other students probably have the same experience. When I think about some of my classmates, what they're doing, and they're doing really great things. And I believe it was because of Fisk. And it gave me a sense of self-worth. It was a good experience for me in terms of self-esteem. I was doing well. I mean, my teachers were there present for me. I still keep in touch with at least two of my professors from Fisk, and those connections, the networking pieces, those were important to me. So,
it's interesting.
I support the HBCU.
Yeah, it's interesting. Everything you said aligns with others I've spoken to that are products of HBCUs, which is that it's a safe environment, it's a supportive environment, it's one that kind of breeds healthy, I don't want to use the word competition, but it's the first word that comes to mind, in that your peers are striving to get to the top. And so, it kind of helps pull you up as well if you're not, self-motivated. So I'm glad to hear that it kind of aligns with everything I've heard from others that run HBCUs. The second question I have, and I'll pass it over to Kevin after this, is mentorship. The other guests we've had have also mentioned how they've had mentors in their lives. In some instances, they didn't realize the person they were connecting with was a mentor per se.
Right.
But these are people that helped inspire, motivate, direct them. So it's clear that it's important. Do you offer any type of mentorship programs for youth or young adults or anyone that's curious or interested in going and following the path you followed in terms of being a lawyer and perhaps taking it on to becoming a judge? Do you have any programs?
Well, what a great accountability question. One program that I'm definitely going to implement as soon as I continue to put the put everything together with my job. I've only been a judge for like a month and a half now, is I want to do a court officer for the day. I want to expose people to the court system. So these are young people that just want to come to court and kind of look around and make them feel special and have some, make them feel important. I was on the phone with a woman last week sometime, and I was telling her what she needed to do. I said, you need to come down and do these appointments, and you need to do this, that, and other thing. And I said, you need to get you a mentor. I said, it's not me. I don't consider myself a mentor. She said, well, what you're doing with me now is absolutely mentoring, and I do consider you a mentor. And so I think that's a great accountability question. I think because to be transparent and vulnerable, I think because of the way I navigated my way through this space, it's hard for me to say I can mentor you and show you the ins and outs. I can tell you what not to do, but what not to do so you can do is get you a mentor. Stick with this. Don't be afraid of it, and keep working at it and keep processing with people your mistakes and your victories along the way. And certainly I told this woman I would be available to her to do that. And so yeah, I'm available to do that. I love to mentor people on how to run for office. Mm-hmm. Because I think that's important. I have a lot of ideas about that. I know what you could do to win and how important it is to share of yourself and to when you're running for office, and how you can do that and how you can do it on a small budget. So yeah, and I been looking forward to that. I'm going to be one of my goals is to coordinate a program to teach girls how to run for office, so that we can really get them inspired at a young age, and they can move forward, either work on campaigns or run for office themselves. That's something that I definitely feel called to do in this space in terms of mentoring.
I love.
And to make it affordable, because I know how much it is trying to get your kids in the programs, and you got to work, but you want them in a meaningful space. And let me tell you, I would spend a whole day trying to map out my kids' summer to make sure that they were in good programs. So that's important. I make sure my kids have mentors around them. My son was in the Kappa League program, or the Gentleman's Academy that the Kappas had. It was an excellent program. My daughter was in working with the Delta Academy. I mean, those programs are really, really, really important.
I'm going to get back to the question, but you said something called Ideas to Win. Is that a title of your third book? That's such a powerful title. I like that. I wrote that down. Ideas to Win. And that goes so many different directions, and it came out so naturally. Yeah, Ideas to Win. I like that. But
well, I will note that everybody's like, when are you going to write your third book about? People want me to write about the campaign. Mm-hmm. Somebody said, when are you going to write your life story now? I said, who wants to hear about this? But
I do.
I could go. I mean, when you ask about the trailer park and Green Acres, I mean, I was experiencing two whole different worlds, and how those worlds collided, and how did I navigate those worlds, and did I ever choose a world, mm-hmm. and and how that affected my self-esteem, and who I hung out with, and how did that influence my academics and choices on that. I remember in elementary school, it was me and the set of twins. I won't say their names, but it was a set of twins, and they were Black, and we were kind of like in the advanced, spots, and their mother did not want them to be around me. And so she didn't want them to be around me because of class. Mm-hmm. They lived they had different,
Yeah.
you know. I was
They weren't in the trailer park.
I was coming from a trailer park.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And she did not want them to hang around me. But we still were friends because we were always in the same classes together. Even when we merged into high school, it was one add-on, and myself and them too. We were always the only blacks, even when we merged high school. So how you navigate those worlds? You just can't fit in because you're poor. You can't fit in because you're too white. You're too black. You're too this. So I ended up. I had a group. I was able to navigate different friend sets. So I had different friend sets. I had white friend sets. I had black friend sets. I was able to navigate all. That was tough for me to navigate, but I did it. I had a best friend. He was white. We hung out. He hung out. He was white, and his folks are millionaires. And we were best friends in class. And so I found we were like a group of misfits. So it was like him and two other people. We were like a group of misfits. And
awesome.
I got in trouble in school. I could talk about all of that. Boy,
that's the book. That's the
book. I see a mini series.
Yeah.
Well,
let me get through this document first.
I understand. Well, first, congratulations. You said you were a judge for a month and a half, so congratulations on your victory. And that's phenomenal. But I want to switch gears a little bit because I was talking to Andre, and I saw that you were Delta on some of your. I went to Ballotpedia, and then it had all of your links, and I went to your Facebook page, and then I saw those signature red Converses, and I was wondering, is that because you like those, or is it because of the Delta influence? But I saw so many pictures with the red Converses. I was like, that's Judge Hayes' trademark. But I wanted to ask her about it, so I know it's a little light humor.
How'd they look, Kev?
They were stylish. They were always clean. Like they were.
Yeah.
I was wondering. My question to Andre was, that she has like 5 pairs of the same ones because they're so clean, or did you wash them every time you come back from the park or the event?
I should go get them now. They're not that clean. But I wore some Chucks through the campaign. I had a pair of blue high top Chucks that I wore through the campaign, and I had a supporter who gave me some red Chucks because of my sorority.
Oh, okay.
And of course, because I was Democrat, and then the red sorority. So you're right about that.
Oh, so no, I was wondering. I was like, theirs are so cool. I was just wondering what those were about. But
I love my Chucks. Everybody knew I was coming. My Chucks and my megaphone, and they knew I was coming.
Thank you for answering that. And back to the, I was looking at your platform, and you wanted to open up to. I'm in Tampa, Florida. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, but when you mentioned that you wanted to have court in the evening so people wouldn't have to lose their jobs, is it not common in Tennessee to have night courts, or is that just in other states?
This is a great area, and thank you for allowing me to talk about it. So one of the things I did campaign on was to have court after hours so people wouldn't have to miss their jobs. And I am on the docket, and we are now working as a court. You'll be seeing some things, hopefully, going to Zoom, doing some virtual court settings, because people are missing work and they're paying astronomical prices in parking to come to court. So right now, Nashville, Tennessee has like what is called a night court, and it goes 24 hours. Wow. And the purpose of night court is to issue warrants and orders of protection. And they sign warrants and do emergency committals. But actually taking care of your case, they cannot do. They only do kind of the preliminary pieces on criminal matters and orders of protection and mental health committals. And so my goal was to have a court after hours. So as soon as we get to this space with the virtual piece, I'm going to be visiting that hopefully in 2023. But there are some dockets that may not be able to go to after hours because of staffing. But there are some dockets, like the state trooper docket, which a lot of people are from out of town. So let's say you're from Tampa, and I hope you're okay from the
Thank you.
hurricane too.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I know that hit your area. People can't travel in from out of town, but what would benefit them most is getting on the telephone or the Zoom to handle their court matter. Mm-hmm. And so we have heard a few cases by Zoom. The court has, not me, but the court has. So yes, so that is something that definitely is on my mind, is to do more accommodating court for the people, and so they can eliminate parking expenses and losing work hours. One thing that I did on my traffic docket last week, so the docket changes every week. So last week I was on traffic and civil. And so I went in early. The traffic docket started at 8:30, but I went in about 8:10 with no robe on, checking to see who could get stuff resolved. Mm-hmm. Because I wanted to go in there. I was in my work clothes. Come on, let's get some of this stuff resolved so people could get on out. And so we did. We were able to get some folks out early, and then we started at 8:30, and then rolled with whoever was there formally. So with robe on and all mm-hmm. that. So I am thinking. I'm thinking all the time how to eliminate the expenses and barriers for people to come to court, which is what I campaigned on.
No, that's awesome.
That's great. So thinking about your other items on your platform, your campaign platform, can you share one or two other things you found that you've been able to start, implementing successfully, and you're kind of proud of right now?
Great. So one thing was to meet with the folks early to move them out because of the parking issue. Okay. I have scheduled my first town hall, which is one of my campaign commitments, is to talk about the office, what I'm doing as a judge, hold me accountable, what's going on with the after hours court, what's going on with the town halls, what's going on with the community assessment survey. So I have been meeting with organizations to gather folks who are going to be on my community survey team. And so we need people who are going to sit down at the table, critique the court, and find out more information how we can be better served. So I am proud of the work that I've done in that respect, about pointing out issues that are barriers to people coming to court. And I just want to say that especially the felony jail docket, when the people are in jail and you're handling their matters kind of right away because they're incarcerated, that I look at the law, I read the law to the people. When I make decisions, I educate, which is one of my platforms, is to make sure people are educated. And so I am very proud of the work in that respect, that I am letting people know what's going on with their cases, whether they are a person who's an accused or they are a victim. So we had a case on the felony docket where the person could not go forward with their case because of some mental health issues, but there were 5 victims there to testify. So I gathered all the victims up and I said, let me tell y'all what's going on. Okay? Because instead of sending them away and saying, come back to the next court date, I wanted to know exactly what was going on with the case. And they were very understanding. Then one man asked, can we get reimbursed for our parking? And I said, hey, I said, I'm the judge. I'm going to remain neutral. I'm going to ask the DA's office to pay for them. But parking that's something that is on my mind. But I am proud of the fact that within these past 3 weeks of the docket, that I have been fair, that I have treated everybody with dignity, and I have used the gavel to make sure every voice is heard, and I take time to listen to people's stories. I have managed to help people to avoid having evictions on their records by explaining to them the law and working out situations so they can get out of the apartment or rental place without having an eviction on their record. So I'm proud of that. And I'm proud that that the lawyers understand, like I said before, that I am looking at the law. I'm not acting on gut. I'm not acting on got a feeling. I'm not acting on, I trust so-and-so. No, I go straight to the law and I read it and I explain the law to the in the case of in the criminal matter to the persons being accused. I tell them why I've made this decision, and I'm very proud that I have not bound over everything the DA wants to put up. That you have not made your case, and I do not bind it over because I go to the elements of the offense.
Awesome.
That's great. That's great. Two things stand out. The empathy, right? The first time I was telling my son this, first time I went to court was for a ticket I received. I was 18. I'm not sure what it was for. I may have been speeding. I'm not sure. But my mom was like, hey, you want me to go with you? I'm like, no, I'm 18. I'll be fine. And Judge Hayes, when I got there, I felt like a lost puppy. I had no idea what was going on. Some lady came out and asked me why I was there, and I explained it to her, and it was just kind of like I was whisked through and wasn't clear on what happened or why it happened, that sort of thing. So the fact that you take time to kind of share the details of here's the case, here are the laws, here's why you're being charged, et cetera, that's incredible. I love that. Here's a burning question. You're successful in what you're doing, from my perspective. You've had a lot of success academically, professionally. At this stage in your life, how do you juggle everything with 5 kids, being a wife, being a mom? What you need to write a book on that. How we do it? How I do it?
This is a really good question, and because I work hard and my whole life has just been work. I worked 3+ jobs to make sure my kids were taken care of and had health care. And so and then I campaigned, and I love campaigning. It's like a high, so it takes me a little bit to come down off of it. But it's so important to do self-care. And I cannot, the judge at the judicial school, you go to like this baby judge school at the beginning, and all the judges emphasize taking care of yourself. So that is something that I'm really going to focus on is allowing myself space not to be working, but to be relaxing. But I will tell you that I cannot remember when I started, but every morning I work out. So everybody pretty much knows me, knows I work out every single morning. I begin every morning with prayer, and I work out, and I am listening to sermons, or I'm listening to gospel music or a meditation, and I am working out every single morning. So that 30 to 40 minutes or even an hour is mine. I try not to entertain a lot of stuff during that time. I like to take that time out for myself. So I'm really big on that. So I am going to be intentional about pulling away and doing some things I really enjoy. And yes, I'm going to be working on that 3rd book. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but I definitely want to do that. I've been dedicated to the NAACP for the past 32 years, and I'm the secretary for the branch, and it takes a lot of time. But I'm in the process now of kind of letting things go and training up other people who are younger or who have different ideas on how things are how to do things, so I can move out of the way and really focus on this and giving myself a perspective to say this is okay to focus, on this. So I've got dinner ready for the week. This week you caught me at a good time. I've already prepared meals for the whole week. I said, Lord, I got to get back to things, that I'm used to doing. And my husband, I have a wonderful husband. I was single for many years, and I met Arnold, and he is super great. He is super, super, super supportive. And I'm not really, it took me some getting used to, but now that I'm really used to it, I'm very spoiled. So I'm very spoiled by Arnold. And our children, the three oldest girls are his biological children, and they are grown and settled and successful. And then we have my two children. Elizabeth's on her way to law school, and my son Adric's about to graduate from A&M. But I really set up some boundaries with my children. I've given them, I gave them 110% beyond. I can't take, I slit the wrist, everything. But I just want to say to parents of adult children, and I have, and my son, he has some special needs, so I have to still do a little more involvement with him. But I do say that I do believe in setting up boundaries and giving yourself the word to say, hey, I did everything I did. Now it's time. It's my turn. It's my turn. And so that's another way that I setting up boundaries. Today, I remember campaigning. I was going to like 8 events a day. So I'm limiting myself to one event. One event a day. So, so just being mindful, I meditate and just setting healthy boundaries and having people in your life who are supportive of you and who want you to rest and who want you to take care of yourself. So yeah, I got to get used to the judge job. At first I was like, golly, you got it like it's administrative week, like where you're off completely. And I was like, wow, this is totally new. But doing the docket, the judges need that administrative week. So I just want to emphasize that you're going to need that week because you carry a lot of stuff. You carry a lot of weight on you. And people think being a judge is easy, but it's not, because you're living in a fishbowl. So you get to be even more cautious of what you say and what you do and where you are and how you conduct yourself. And so that carries a lot of pressure and weight for me because I'm very much into accountability. And so yes, and taking care of yourself, for me, what I've learned is to be kind to yourself. Like I was saying, be kind. You came out of a trailer park, lady. You came from some interesting circumstances. Really, statistics say you're not supposed to be here. So that's what I'm learning more to do, is to be kind to myself and to and just, hey, just be kind to yourself. And don't sweat the small stuff. But my husband's been really helpful. He's really helpful, and he helps me to understand things, and he's so supportive, and he knows a lot about love and commitment, relationships. He's very mature, and he's retired from Ford, so he's as a supervisor. He was an engineer. Or he's still an engineer, but retired engineer, and he's been through a lot, and he shares a lot of that he helps me a lot. And then he was married to a woman named Vivian, and they were married for 35 years. And so he's a widower.
Oh, my condolences.
He's a widower. So, and we met through the NAACP.
Awesome. Well, this has been this is
that was probably more than what you wanted.
No. I mean, everyone your experiences are amazing, and it's a you never know who God's going to put in our path to help us with our journey, and we may not know the path, but God knows the path. So, and those characters that's put in our path are there as angels, earthbound angels, to give us guidance. I look at it as.
Mine was more like a man.
I understand. But either way, well, we're ready for the final four, and I want to thank you for this information. But this is where I ask you a question, then Andre asks you a question, and we do this with all our guests because it shines a different perspective. So the first question on the final four is, if you were to have dinner with anyone living or alive, Martin Luther King, Obama, Michelle, who would be the other three representatives at your dinner table, table of four, and why and who would they be?
Oh, so do I get to pick all
You get to
four?
pick all three because you're the number one, and then the other three at your table.
Oh,
But you
okay.
can add four if you like. You can add five if you want.
Oh, I would like to meet with I would have my daughter there.
Hmm.
She inspires me the most.
Awesome.
I would have, and I would want her to meet. It's all about her, Katanji,
Katanji. Uh-huh.
and I would have. Um, um, Let me see. Oh, I would have Sojourner Truth.
Sojourner Truth.
Those are people. Sojourner Truth. I would have those folks there so Elizabeth could meet them. Hmm.
Oh, that is so sweet. You know what? You're the first one out of all of our guests who selected their dinner table based upon someone else. So you said, I want to have my daughter there, and I want my daughter with these other two, Sojourner and Kajanji. So that's amazing. You're the first one to do that. So thank you. Uh,
The next question, and I'm sorry about my camera here, but the next question, you guys can hear me,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, the next question is, so what would you say is, if you were to write a biography, what would the title be of the biography?
What do you say? Ideas to win.
Okay, I like it.
Exactly.
Just want to make sure you're sticking with it.
I
Okay,
can't wait to
okay.
read your book, Ideas to Win. I love that.
That's selling. That's selling.
All right, here's one, and it's really if we think about it, you talked about coming up from the being raised in the projects, not projects, the trailer park with the Green Acres and various friend sets and navigating. What would you say is your superpower? If you were to say that this is my power that I own exclusively, like Superman can see through fire or whatever, but then Wonder Woman can just has an invisible plane. What would be Judge Hayes' superpower?
My superpower is the ability to love people.
Oh, amazing. Ability to love.
Is to love, and to see and that love enables me to see people as human beings
Hmm.
and love them through whatever, and hopefully they can do the same for me.
That's a
Yeah, I think my superpower is to
That's
love.
a beautiful superpower. You know what the funny thing is, and it's not ironic, but it's so amazing is Andre, we have about maybe 15 to 30 different, maybe let's say 20 different interviews. And these final four questions, a lot of people have said, I want my grandfather, I want my grandmother. And yours is totally out the charts, is totally original new answers, which is fascinating. I love it too. So thank you very much. And Andre?
Okay, the next one is, what would you say is your greatest success to date?
My children.
Children. That's amazing.
My children. Both of them.
Hmm.
They are okay. They're going to be okay.
Wow.
I poured in a lot to my children. They are my greatest success.
Man, that's another original
I'm
answer. I just love how it must be your spirit because everything is a reflection of others, and that is so beautiful to me. Uh, Everyone else is like, oh, my greatest success is me. My ability to make money, my ability to build this house. But yours is all about others. And that's almost epitomizes your service to others and being in your role as a public official. So I want to thank you for your time. And I've been moved and I'm so inspired. And actually, I'm going to go out there when it says be encouraged and exercise your faith. I'm going to go get their books and read them because I'm just all inspired by you. And even though you say you're not a mentor, your experiences are mentors for others who are just somebody in that trailer park or projects, or someone who's navigating between various facilities or various friend sets, as you call it, this is inspiring. So thank you very much for your time on a Sunday. Thank you, Judge Hayes.
Thank
Yes.
you.
And I just
I'm
wanted to
honored
say
to be
this.
here.
My camera went out. I apologize for that. That's why it's. At any rate, I'm really glad. One thing I told Kevin about you as a person, being that I've met you in the past, is how approachable, how genuine you are, authentic. And you mentioned, one of the challenges of being a judge is being in a fishbowl. From the outside looking in, I think you have a slight advantage in that, you are a person with high morals, high values. You're a person that can really connect with those from any walk of life because of your unique journey. And so, yeah, I definitely see you having tremendous success in this role as a judge. And I look forward to seeing what happens beyond this after you finish this term. And how long is this term, by the way?
8 years.
Awesome.
8 years. Okay.
8 years.
Okay.
So please come and court watch. And look around and see what's happening there. And as soon as I get my my coalition together, I'll let you guys know. And if you want to do something around that, that'd be great.
Awesome. Thank you. Definitely will.
Yeah, I'm glad that I'm down there, and I'm looking at there's so many things I could have campaigned on that I didn't know. But definitely access is for me is the fundamental element of justice, and that's what I want to increase in the courts.
Well, thank you. On that note, we're going to bring it home, and thank you again. And I guess we're at the end, Andre.
Give me 1 second. I'll cut this.
All right.
Mouse, is it working? 1 second. Okay, here we go. I'm going to end it right now. Stop.